It's Monday, March 23rd, 2020. Digital Trends Live is live from my house. Here are some of the topics we're going to be covering on today's episode of the show. As the world continues to change, so is the way we are getting our entertainment, from Instagram live streams to movies coming directly to streaming services. We'll give you a rundown of what you can watch at home. And despite what is going on here, Mars remains unaffected by the coronavirus. And NASA has just released an amazing selfie taken by the Curiosity rover. We'll tell you how they did it. The world of sports is rapidly changing, including NASCAR. We'll have Germain Racing's Dillon on to talk about the inaugural eNASCAR iRacing Pro Invitational Series. And we'll have another edition of Awesome Tech You Can't Buy Yet with our own Drew Prindle as he scours the internet to find the very best and sometimes the very strangest crowdfunding campaigns out there for your entertainment. All of that and more on today's episode of Digital Trends Live. Yes, hello everyone. This is Digital Trends Live. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Greg Nibbler. We broadcast live here every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, bringing you trending tech headlines, news, interviews, discussions, and so much more. All we're broadcasting live across a number of different platforms. We're on Periscope, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Dailymotion, Apple News, 2 different mobile apps, a smart television app, and at digitaltrends.com/live. So thank you for joining us. And yes, as everything is changing, so is this show, but only slightly because the locations are a little bit different. Normally, you're used to seeing either us on location at somebody's fine establishment or our wonderful studios. Right now, we are from my house. As everything is changing with live productions, so is this. So this is the backdrop we've set up for it. That's what we're dealing with right now. But I thank everybody for joining us because we are going to be here throughout this apocalypse, live streaming for you, bringing you all of this news, interviews, and everything else that I was talking about before. And since we're live, we can take your comments and questions in the chat. Join us for this. But let's get started right now and bring you up to date on some news. So we always like to take at least somewhat of a tech angle when it comes to talking about the coronavirus and how it's changing our lives. And live streaming is a big, big thing that we're all seeing change. And it's really fascinating, actually, in a lot of ways, seeing how it's adapting so quickly. And there's a few things I wanted to bring to your attention to make you aware of. Instagram live videos are huge right now, but none is bigger than DJ D-Nice and his live streams. If you haven't been following along with this, I highly suggest tuning in to some of his quarantine parties that he's hosting, where essentially it's just him DJing at his house, but it's incredible how many people have joined in. Over 100,000 people were watching the live stream at one point, and there's actually a video of him talking about that, just bringing it up about how crazy that is. I mean, everybody from Will Smith to Rihanna to Stevie Wonder to Naomi Campbell, Missy Elliott, Gabrielle Union, Oprah Winfrey, Michelle Obama, they all joined in to watch this, all from presumably their homes, as we change up how we're getting our live streaming entertainment. It's just really a fascinating thing to see with that, and there's a lot of other artists that are doing the same thing. Naturally, all the concerts are canceled that we were expecting this year. So we've got Miley Cyrus, who's going to be doing this. She's going to be live streaming from her house. There's actually a number of different ones that are coming up, and each day it's a little bit different as we see this happen, but Instagram live stream, definitely something that you want to follow along with, and I do suggest DJ D-Nice. I mean, it's a pretty great stream, and congratulations to him for all the success on it, but really it just showcases we're all looking for something as we're changing up our entertainment habits among all of this. That is something that's changing a lot. Something else that's changing quite a bit is how we're getting our movies, and this is another sign of the times of more and more productions possibly going to just live streaming their movies, since we can't get the theatrical releases that we were expecting. So Amazon actually has launched a new section of their website called Prime Video Cinema. So that's how they're branding this. And these are for what they're calling in-theater rentals. So these are movies that would normally be in the theaters right now. Maybe they already premiered. Most of them did. Actually, I'll discuss that here in a second. But premiered already, but now are available for rent because clearly you can't go to a theater to see them. So that's something that's kind of changed a lot. You have Pixar's Onward, which is one of them that's going to be on there. You've got The Invisible Man, you've got Emma, you've got The Hunt. So these are all movies that would normally be in the theaters, now available for rent, and so they can watch at home. You also have Disney Plus, who's working on this to make more of their movies possibly available that way and skipping the box office. You also have, this is news that I believe just came out today, that has to do with Paramount, which is doing something else unique. Now, this is a movie, it's called The Lovebirds, stars Kumail Nanjiani and Issa Rae, and this is something where it was going to be released in the theaters, and now they've just skipped that completely, and it's going directly to Netflix. So Netflix and Paramount have kind of a deal already, but this wasn't going to be part of that originally, from what we're understanding, that it was going to be hitting the theaters April 3rd, but now it's just going to go straight to Netflix. So again, kind of changing up how we're getting our entertainment. All these streaming services, even though they are buffering somewhat what the quality is that you're going to get. So if you're looking for the 4K or even HD, you're probably not going to get it right now. They're kind of buffering that just to make sure, throttling it to make sure that we can get these things streamed correctly and that we don't hog up bandwidth. But that aside, this is certainly another sign of the times of how we're changing up our entertainment, and these theaters or these production companies are taking their movies directly to streaming services. Something else with that, Universal releasing Trolls on April 10th. They're going directly to the in-theater, at-home, in-theater rental model. So that is one that's another one. Something interesting on that. So the National Association of Theater Owners is not happy about that. There was actually a statement from John Fithian, who's the head of that, who said that talking about Universal on Trolls, which what they did, he said exhibitors will not forget this. So the theaters themselves, still a big source of income for a lot of these Hollywood production companies. I mean, really the main source, even more than streaming, just because they can make so much money worldwide on these. Said that theater companies, exhibitors will not forget it. So that's a little bit of a shot there across to Universal, but we'll have to see how all these adapt. Either they push them out a year or we get them sooner. And that's just talking about the streaming side of things. A couple other things of note, and this is one, I don't want to talk about this, but it's something else that's part of this live streaming theme that we're going to. And this is an announcement that came out from the National Funeral Directors Association, talking about a message from the CDC about how funerals may have to be going to be live streamed. So that's just, again, something that we have to let you know about. It's part of the change. It's not to keep people safe from someone who's passed away. They don't believe that that's a source of any contamination, at least as far as yet, according to the CDC, but it's more the whole social distancing aspect, where getting more people in one place really rapidly increases the chances of spreading the coronavirus and COVID-19. So that's another thing, another sign of our lives kind of changing right before us, but live streaming again being one of the key themes for that. Some other things to bring you up to date on, though. We do have some more news to talk about. Lyft has said that they will now be actually moving their delivery service, or not moving it, but adding on the delivery of food and medical supplies as we see people go into quarantine. So they said they've worked this out to where they'll be able to do that for people. Obviously, medical supply is a huge issue, and being able to get those to people. Same thing with food. Delivery of food is enormous. And Lyft getting into that, along with Uber Eats, who's also another one. So as that happens, there's also some confliction and some interest from drivers as far as how they maintain their safety throughout this. So that's an ongoing discussion as well. And will this change employees to be classified, or their contractors to be classified as employees? That's another debate that's going on. But again, just to bring you up to date with that, Lyft now is going to be sending out medical supplies and food. So that's going to be part of their delivery service. Continuing on. Let's talk about some websites that have joined in on this, and Apple also making an announcement. So Google has finally launched this website that was promised about a week ago. A week ago seems like years ago right now, doesn't it? I mean, every 24 hours feels like it was a year ago. But last week was when President Trump held a press conference claiming that Google would be debuting a website that would help everybody diagnose themselves and then be able to determine where they can go in if they need testing. The website that is launched is not exactly that. It's much more stripped down, but they did launch one. So this is a website that you can go to now. And Google's, just to talk about what it is and what it's got, there's a drop-down menu on it where you can pick your state, and they'll provide a link to that state's health website. They also have a lot of CDC information, some World Health Organization links, and they also have video tips for eating healthy and various other things to handle what is going on, even for quarantine at home if you're not feeling ill. But it seems to be far from a polished end product of what we thought it would be, to where it was something that you could actually go through your symptoms, and then it could let you know where to go get tests. We're not there yet. This site does not appear to be ready yet for that. They do have the one for the Bay Area only, but even then it's pretty restrictive on what it is. So we're a ways away, it seems, from a national rollout of that. But a couple other things going on. The CDC also has a chat bot up where you can go and enter in if you're having any symptoms and walk you through that. I tried it today. It's very simple, but it just kind of walks you through what's happening. And if you feel like you're ill or anything, it can give you some more advice on what to do. Then the other part of this is you also have Apple. So Apple is now going to, this is an announcement from them, with Siri, to where you can actually talk to Siri and walk through possible symptoms to see if you may be in need of getting tested for this. So it's kind of a new addition to this, and I think as we see more tech companies move forward with adding some of these things, that's going to be a pretty important aspect, especially with different voice processing and different our smart home devices, different ways that we interact with technology. I would imagine we're going to see more and more do that, if nothing else, just to alleviate some anxiety associated with it. It's certainly very important to get your information from the CDC or WHO. Go to trusted sources. There's a lot of misinformation out there, but Apple and Google are working to try to help mitigate some of that, and they're just two of those companies, and a lot of the big tech companies are working on this together, so that's something you can check out more about at digitaltrends.com. All right, so I'm giving you a lot of information here really quick because we do have some interviews coming up, and I want to remind you of that. So we've got some great ones here on the show. Something else, so talking about Apple, this is actually good news as far as the supply chain. Now, we know that with everything going on, especially in China and Korea, where we know there's going to be delay on some of the tech products that we're going to be coming out later this year. And that seems like a minor thing, but I mean, really, it's going to be a pretty big deal at some point. There's a lot of things that depend on this. And what we did hear, and this is coming from OnLeaks, I believe, OnLeaks, and then also some other sites that are reporting on this when it comes to Apple, talking about how the iPhone SE 2, which was going to be presumably launched sometime around now when Apple was going to have their event, which obviously never happened and won't be happening, at least in that form, that as far as the production is actually on pace. So it doesn't seem like we're going to get a delay on that because of the fact that they already had some production that was going on it. So this one sounds like the iPhone SE 2, or whatever they end up calling it, won't be delayed. They still haven't officially announced it, but I would guess we'll probably hear something about that in the coming days, that they'll release something maybe about that. However, the iPhone 12, which would be the one coming out later on this year in September, that does sound like it's going to be delayed, which is not surprising, but just kind of bringing you up to date on some of the news with that. Expect some delays on some of these major phone releases that were supposed to be coming later this year. Who knows about Google Pixel? I mean, there's a lot of other stuff to figure out with that, but that's something else that you can read more about at digitaltrends.com. Finally here, before I've got a product for you, and then we're going to go to a break, I want to talk about this, something else that's not affected by the coronavirus, and that's Mars. So the Mars rover Curiosity, the Curiosity rover, actually NASA just released a pretty stunning selfie image. And, just to bring something else tech-related into you that's not all coronavirus-related, that's still something pretty cool. So this is the Curiosity rover. So it's on its steepest slope ever. So it's the Green Hue Pediment. That's the name of this sheet of rock that it's on at the top of this hill. And it was able to take a selfie. And there's a pretty cool definition. We've got an article up at Digital Trends just kind of walking through in a good video, walking through how it's able to do it. So the way it works is it's 86 different images that were edited together. So it kind of swings the camera around repeatedly. And because it has so many images, they're able to edit out the actual arm of it in order to get that picture itself. Still pretty stunning and something kind of cool to see here in this time of a lot of turmoil and a lot of confusion. It's nice to see that is still going on. NASA's still able to do their work on Mars and to get an image like that. So you can check that out at digitaltrends.com.
Hey, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. It's now time for the product of the day.
All right. So, again, broadcasting live from my house, but I have the products of the day here with me. Yes, we got a giant shipment here to showcase these, so this is something that we do here every time. And what I've got right here is an Epson printer. Now, you are definitely going to be wanting a printer at home. As we all switch to working from home, it still doesn't mitigate that need to be able to print some things out every now and then. So let's talk about this one right here. This is the Epson Expression Premium XP 7100 wireless color photo printer with ADF. That's a whole lot that I just said right there, but here's the things that it can do. It's got a 30-page auto document feeder, which means you can feed a lot of documents in there. That means you can not only print, but you can copy, scan. Scanning is probably going to be a huge thing right now as we're moving from home. There's a lot of documents that just were printed, and you need to get them in this way. That's something you can do. It can handle multiple media feeds. It's intuitive. It's got a 3-inch touchscreen to view, edit, and print photos directly from a USB or an SD card slot. And it's also got the Ultimate Wireless Plus Ethernet. So that's another aspect of it that you can actually plug it in directly to your Ethernet or use it wirelessly, and you can print directly from your tablet or your smartphone. So it's kind of a cool extra feature on there. And again, that's our product of the day. So right now, that is normally $199. It's 50% off at $99. So if you're looking to set up your home office, you need one of these, this is a good deal to take advantage of. And you click that link that's directly below me, and that way you can actually pick this up and take advantage of the half-off offer that's going on right now. So again, that is our product of the day. All right, we're going to continue on here. Again, broadcasting live from my house, and thank you to everybody who's joining me. Appreciate it. We've got a lot to talk about. We have some great guests coming up. Let me just give you just a real quick idea of who's going to be on the show today. So we've got Dillon from NASCAR. NASCAR just had their first ever, basically an esports race, where they had all the drivers competing against each other virtually, and that's probably something we're going to see more of when it comes to sports, but this is the first one that NASCAR's done, so he's going to be on to talk about his race and where he finished and how he actually did it. We got Drew Prindle with Awesome Tech you can't buy yet. We've got Avi Schiffman, who created a website called ncove2019.live. You've probably seen something about him. He's a 17-year-old kid from Seattle who created this amazing website to keep track of it, so we'll talk to him. And up next, we've got a package from Mr. Riley Wynn. When you could go out into the streets and talk to people, this is what he recorded, so it's another fantasy face-off where he's talking to people about Star Wars and some battles, and you can probably chime in with what you think and who you think would win on those as well. So that's coming up next. So stick around. We'll be back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.
What's up, guys? I'm Riley Wynn, and this is Fantasy Face-Off, a game where we suggest spectacular showdowns and let people determine the winner. Let's see what they had to say. Who would win in a fight? Jar Jar Binks versus Baby Yoda.
I'm feeling Baby Yoda here. I mean,
Baby Yoda, clearly. Baby Yoda has an untapped potential.
I want to say Baby Yoda 100% because, it took down that Mudhorn and he's a little tiny little baby. But at the same time, Jar Jar Binks is potentially the Sith Lord.
Baby Yoda.
Why?
He's got the little powers.
Hopefully not Jar Jar Binks. I'm going to root for Baby Yoda out of principle. Also, he's got force powers. I don't know what Jar Jar can do other than be really annoying and useless.
Jar Jar Binks. No one wants Jar Jar Binks to win.
Who would win in a fight? Darth Vader or Qui-Gon Jinn, and why?
That's a very tough question.
It's got to be Darth Vader. I mean, he's like Force Jesus, right? Can't beat that.
Darth Vader.
Why?
He's badass.
It would be cooler if Qui-Gon Jinn won, but I think Darth Vader would win in any fight, hands down.
Why do you think he'd win?
I mean, he can strangle people remotely. That's that's a pretty good skill if you're, looking for total body destruction.
Who would win in a fight? R2-D2 or BB-8?
I got to give up for BB-8. I mean, R2, while cool as a character, he wasn't very mobile. You look at BB-8, and, he's a ball that rolls around very quickly. He's going to run circles around R2.
R2-D2.
Why?
He's got better limb action.
R2-D2 would most definitely win. Because he has cool little jets that he can fly around on. He can just roast him to bits.
Oh man. I mean, BB-8's a lot more mobile. He's a lot more agile. So I'm going to go with, and he is a lighter. So I'm going to go with BB-8.
Who would win in a fight, an Ewok or a Porg?
An Ewok would 100%.
Why?
They've mastered the use of boulders and sticks and fun booby traps.
I love porgs. They're so cute.
I would say an Ewok. I mean, seeing how they fought on Return of the Jedi, like, you know, they were savages out there.
Maybe pork.
Why?
Claws.
Wait, why again?
Eyes out.
Who would win in a fight, Luke Skywalker or Darth Maul?
Luke Skywalker. He's got to be stronger with the Force, I would assume.
Ooh,
Why? Why would he win? I mean, the Force. They both use the Force, don't they? Damn it.
Luke Skywalker would definitely win. Darth Maul's all show and then just ends up getting cut in half anyways.
I have mixed feelings about Darth Maul.
You know, I'm going to give it to Darth Maul.
I think old Luke, yeah. You know. Always got to be worried about an old man in a young man's game, right?
Who would win in a fight, Kylo Ren or Mace Windu?
Mace Windu.
Why?
Kylo's a ding-dong.
Kylo Ren. Because he's thick. Have you seen those pictures on the internet?
Kylo Ren, I think, is kind of a chump. He's a little whiny.
Ooh, you know, I like both of them. I got to say Mace Windu.
Well, guys, that was Fantasy Face-Off. If there's any matchups that you want to see, let us know in the comment section from wherever you're watching, or hit me up on Twitter at AllRightDoIsWin. Until next time, I'm Riley Wynn with Digital Trends, and thanks for watching.
Hello, welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thank you for watching wherever you are. We appreciate it. I'm broadcasting from my house, as is the sign of the times right now. Everything changing up, and I appreciate everybody who's joining us on whatever platform. One thing I want to remind you of, though, is to hit subscribe. So whatever platform you're watching on, hit that subscribe button. You can share the show. That way we can join in with us, because we broadcast live here every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. I just want to make sure you know that we'll be here for you. And speaking of which, it is now time for one of our favorite segments here on the show, which is Awesome Tech You Can't Buy Yet. And to do so, we have Mr. Drew Prindle, who I'm presuming is at his house or an undisclosed location that he can't let us know about. Drew, hello. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm digging the globe, by the way. I love that we're doing this from your study.
Just to say there, since we are broadcasting live, just having a little bit of trouble hearing Drew, so we'll make sure that we get that turned up. But Drew, I'm gonna hand it off to you here to start this off, because I know that we're actually talking about some different things that you have scoured the internet for in order to bring to us from different crowdfunding sites. And the first one here, it sounds like it's the Keyboardio Atreus. I have no idea if I'm even saying that correctly.
I mean, I don't know either, but it sounds right. I mean, that's how I would pronounce it as well. Can you hear me now, by the way?
Yeah, I can hear you better now. Yeah, thank you. So walk us through what this one is.
Okay, so basically it's the tiniest, most adorable little mechanical keyboard you've ever seen. It's a full mechanical keyboard. It's wired. It's all of the things that you want in a keyboard, so there's not going to be any battery replacement or latency that comes with having a wireless keyboard. But it's straight up miniature. And it's made by Keyboardio. They've had a lot of success in the past making keyboard projects on Kickstarter. There's this whole like weird subculture on Kickstarter where they like keyboards for some reason are a super popular thing for people to launch on crowdfunding sites, and this is the latest one. It's less than a foot like wide total. So like think of a ruler. This thing is smaller than that, and it has all of the keys you need. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, less than a foot wide. I mean, it's one of those things where I kind of forget about that a portable keyboard would actually come in handy. It is kind of have that weird configuration too as I'm looking on it. Is that like the ergonomical side of things?
Yeah, I think they need that in order to get you comfortably in a keyboard that's like, less than a foot wide. If it was, just straight across, you'd have to like, torque your wrists a little bit and it'd be awkward. But now you've got me thinking, like, why would you need a portable keyboard now? You're not going anywhere in quarantine. This might be like the worst time for this product to be launching.
Yeah, there's a lot of products like that where it's like, oh, this may not be, this probably isn't the best time for that. But I mean, everybody's going to need it afterward because here's the thing. Actually, maybe it is a good time because we're all going to want to be getting out of the house and going on location after this is all done. Yeah. So maybe this is something to prepare for that time when that happens.
And I guess it's also a crowdfunding project. So it's not going to be like produced for like another few months to like maybe even longer if factories are still shut down. So maybe once all this blows over, this will just arrive on your doorstep. It'll be a nice little post-quarantine surprise for you.
Well, so that is one. So that's the Keyboardio Atreus. And I know we've got 3 different products here. Again, this is awesome tech you can't buy yet that Drew has scoured the internet to find. And this next one is actually pretty cool, and it's kind of strange at the same time, which is generally a sign of awesome tech you can't buy yet. But it's a photon light bar.
Yeah. So this thing is for light painting photography, which is basically you take a long exposure photo, typically in the dark, and then you kind of wave around like LED lights or sparklers or something else that's bright, and you can pretty much paint trails of light in the sky and make really cool looking photographs. So this one, I gotta say, this is not a fully new idea. There's this thing called the Pixel Stick, which is one of my favorite Kickstarter projects ever. It was back in like 2012. And it's this exact same idea, but it's like this huge, long, almost kind of unruly row of 200 LEDs. It's like 6 feet tall, so it's kind of hard to wave around. This one is a little bit more compact, and it does basically the same thing. You can load it up with not only like various patterns of like, color flashing, but also you can load up images, and it'll flash through those images 1 row of pixels at a time. So if you kind of slowly wave it through the air, it'll the photo that you will get will be like, the digital photo will be in your actual photo.
Which is, I mean, it is cool. I'm trying to think of who would carry this out and around all the time, or if this would be more for like a professional photographer.
It's totally just going to be a thing, you use for creative purposes and messing around. Although it does kind of look like a lightsaber, so I don't know, maybe cosplayers would get behind this.
Yeah, I could see that being the case. I mean, that is one actually. Being at home right now, I would be curious to see what people come up with that, because I think we're going to see a whole bunch of weird creative projects that are going to come out, and this could be something that would actually work for that. I don't know where it's at in the crowdfunding status. I know we've got that at digitaltrends.com as far as where people can actually get one of these, but it's kind of cool. It's a cool crowdfunding campaign. So that's the photon light bar, and then the next one is when I do feel like people definitely now who are gaming at home, because there's so many people that are gaming online right now, and it's the gaming GameSense chair. Is that really what it is? Chair?
Yeah, it's a chair. It's basically like, you remember the
I'm just
Rumble
looking at
packs?
the name of it. So
you remember Rumble Packs from N64? Yeah. This is that, but in chair form. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. It's got 3 different zones that vibrate based on what's going on in the game. There's one at the base of the chair, there's one in your back, and then there are also ones on the armrests. So it gives you sort of a sense of directionality. Like if there's something, behind you, it'll vibrate on your back. If it's to your side, it'll vibrate on the arms, all of that fun stuff. But the cool thing about this is that the entire thing is, all of the vibrations and stuff are based off of audio signals that are coming from your game. So you don't need any like special drivers or software that like links into your system. No extra downloads. You literally just like plug it in to the audio output, and it'll work from there. So you can use it with not only like regular consoles and PCs, but you can also use it with mobile games. It'll work with pretty much any platform that you throw at it.
That's with mobile games. That feels kind of weird to be playing a mobile game with a giant chair, but actually, it's
Totally immersive sound,
I mean-
not so immersive screen.
Angry Birds is real, man. So I mean, yeah, that is pretty cool though. I could see like a whole bunch of that stuff coming out here soon. So that's the GameSense chair, the gaming chair from them. Another crowdfunding campaign that you can take a look at, and yeah, that's. At this point, now I think everybody's probably thinking about setting up a gaming room since we're all, this is our new normal, living at home. So I could see this actually doing pretty well too. So a couple of them there, you'll have to wait on the keyboard. I don't think you're going to need a portable keyboard anytime soon. But still, really cool products. So you can take a look at all of those at digitaltrends.com. And again, it's awesome tech you can't buy yet. Drew Prindle, thank you so much.
Yeah, always a pleasure, man.
All right, that is Drew here joining us on our new live location, which is my house. Thanks for joining us, wherever you are. We appreciate it. All right, we've got more coming up here. So joining us next is actually really, really awesome. We've got a great guest. We've got Dillon from Germain Racing. So we're talking about NASCAR. And NASCAR obviously on hold right now because of all sports are on hold. All events are on hold. All live crowd-attended events are on hold. But they actually held an E-race. And we're going to talk about that, what that was like with all of their drivers participating in it. Ty was one of them. We'll talk about his setup. If you have questions you want to ask him, drop those into the platform, whatever you're watching on, whatever chat you're in, and we'll make sure that we get those over to him too. But that's coming up next, so stick around back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler, and thank you very much for joining us wherever you are. We appreciate it. Of course, as entertainment changes, we have to adapt with it, and that's why we're broadcasting from my house right now. We're not in our Portland, Oregon studio or a New York studio or anywhere else. We're broadcasting from my home, but that means there's changes happening to a lot of forms of entertainment, and certainly sports is no exception. We know that there's been some big things with that, but how it's adapting is really fascinating. And to talk about that in part right now, we have Ty Dillon from Germain Racing for the NASCAR Cup Series. Ty, I want to say thank you so much for joining us and taking some time to talk to us today.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here with you guys. Yeah, what a crazy, exciting weekend. I'm normally a NASCAR driver that drives on a real track with a real car that's about 130 degrees. It's not 70 degrees like the inside of my house, but we're all adapting to a bit of a new way of life right now across the country. And it was something fun that we got to do as a sport that hopefully entertained a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think it's really cool that different athletes are going to this, going to online gaming, and I'm sure it's maddening. Like you said, you're used to being in a physical car, actually driving on that track, so that's got to be probably going through some withdrawals and that sense of competition. But when it comes to this thing that you guys just did, can you walk us through what this was, and then I want to talk to you just more about what it was like for you personally.
Yeah, so I found out Thursday night that NASCAR and iRacing were getting together to put on a race. I had heard rumors that maybe Fox Sports 1 was going to pick it up. So I personally didn't have a iRacing rig. I hadn't raced on a simulator in 10 years, but I rounded one up. I found one, which I think was the same case for a lot of the drivers. I think Dale Jr. and Denny Hamlin mentioned in the broadcast that they had been racing for about 2 decades on theirs. So there was a bit of disparity as far as experience throughout the field, but all in all, it was a lot of fun. I was more nervous for it than probably starting the Daytona 500 because in a real race car, I know what I'm doing and I'm more confident. In an iRacing rig, I didn't want to be the first one to mess up. So I was so nervous to kind of get through that race. But all in all, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the experience. I live streamed it from my Instagram account, it's still up right now on my story at Ty_Dillon on Instagram. And you can kind of see behind the scenes of my setup. My wife was helping me out. My daughter was there. So it was a unique experience, and people got to see the inside of our life and our home just as you are now. And, thank God that we have technology to still communicate and do things that are entertaining across the world.
Right, that's just such it's one of those things where I know some people have, with social media, sometimes we talk about disconnecting. Now everybody wants to connect because this is the way that we can talk to people and showcase some pretty unique things. Like you said, like the setup at your house and scrambling to get that set together. Talking about the racing side of things too, I know we've talked to some other NASCAR drivers before and some IndyCar racers, and I know that when you're out there driving, you can communicate either verbally or physically with some of the other drivers, and I know there's a lot of rivalry that goes back and forth. Were you able to talk to the other drivers while you were racing?
So I haven't gotten my setup quite there yet. I know some of the other guys were. They were using, I think, TeamSpeak, an app on the computer. I didn't have a headset yet, but I think there is capability to talk to each other. But yes, in real life we do. I have, within my team, I have a crew chief, a spotter who stands on the tower who guides me as you're seeing there. So if a car's on the outside or the inside, he helps me make sure I don't run into those guys. And I have a crew chief who's calling the strategy. And there can be at times up to 3 to 4 different voices in my ear. Not all the time do we get to talk to other drivers live or always live with the broadcast. So that's something that's a little bit different. I know they do allow spotters to spot for you in iRacing. So you can have a friend or a family member download the game and use a view that overviews the track and spot for you on the game. I didn't get there yet. Maybe if we have another race, I'll have somebody do it. Probably my wife.
Nice. Talking about it, with this and that competitive spirit that comes with any kind of athlete, or especially in competition, did you get to feel that after you got over the nervousness of doing something that you haven't really done in 10 years? Did that competitive spirit come back?
Yeah, my wife and I were talking about it. It's funny, some of the guys I was racing around, their mental aspect to racing was still the same in the video game as it is in real life. You kind of got the same aggression or passiveness that you got in real life against certain guys. So it definitely comes out, that competitive passion and fire, even though we're trying to have fun. I kind of had to remind myself a couple times, hey, It's just a video game. We're having fun. But we're competitors, and you put us on TV, you put us out there to entertain and go for a win. We can't help it. So it was a really fun time, and it ended up being a great race to the finish.
Could you see? I mean, obviously, you want to get back on the track, and I know there's plans for that, but things are so up in the air right now. It's hard for anybody to make any concrete plans, no matter what it is. So going forward with this, could you see this being something that NASCAR would adopt more, or even if once things are back to normal, have a one-off thing like this as part of not necessarily for the standings, but for a fun competition?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's definitely something to be utilized, especially if we get the television companies to buy into it as well. But I think until we really know when we're going back racing right now, the word is May 3rd. I think we'll continue to see some of these races and participation by the drivers. We want to do as much for our fans, for our team, for our sponsors as we can. That's what our sport runs off of. It's not really like any other sport. So I think you're going to see a lot of participation. You're going to see drivers doing more and more to be engaged with their fans and people around the world watching. So it's going to be something that can be utilized not only in iRacing and online, but I think it's something that we can bleed into our sport. I think the aspect of being able to get behind the helmet or communicate on social media during a race is something we need to adapt and try to get cameras on every single car in real life so that people can engage just that much more.
I love the idea of any kind of sport just getting behind the scenes or seeing somebody while they're competing, like a viewpoint that the 99.999% of us will never get to see, but to see what you're doing behind the wheel there and driving or whatever it is. And even with what you're doing right now with Instagram and showcasing that and talking about social media, for you during this break, what are some of the ways that you're connecting with your fans or that you'd like to connect with them?
Really, my wife and I are just kind of showing a little bit of our life. We've been posting on our stories, and she's an amazing cook. So every night that she's been cooking since we've been home for the quarantine, she's been putting up great recipes and kind of stepping people through it. I've just been kind of showing the things that I'm doing as far as a father and a husband, normal life things. And I think it's kind of relieving. I think a lot of the social media anxiety that people get is because when the world's going and hitting on all cylinders, everybody feels like they're missing out. So-and-so is posting, their highlights of their life, and knowing that everyone across the world is kind of in a shutdown and has to be home in a sense. I think the anxiety is lower. It makes it easier to show realness through your life. And I think that's what's really important. I think this is a time that life's perspective needs to be put back in place, and hopefully the world will see that the only thing that really matters at the end of our lives is the relationships we make, and the most important ones are right in front of our faces. Sometimes we're quarantined to be shown that.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, there's so many different things that we're all thinking about that, a month ago we had no idea this is the world that we'd be living in right now as we're trying to fight through this thing. But yeah, it's fascinating to see the way that people connect with the people right in front of them, but also just connecting with other people online in a positive way, because so many people need that kind of social interaction. For you, following on Instagram, is there anybody that you've been following or watching online that you've enjoyed that you'd want to let people know about?
Other than my wife, who is at Haley K. Dillon, a good friend of mine who is a pastor out in a church in Seattle, Church Home. His name is Judah Smith. He's a really funny guy. He's a great guy who's very positive, and he's friends with a lot of guys. So he's been Instagram living a lot. He's had people like Chris Pratt, Justin Bieber, myself. I was on there before our race. So he's a great follow. He's a great man and has great perspective on life. So he's probably been the most entertaining other than my wife to follow during this time.
Well, I want to say thank you so much for taking some time to talk to us just about this too and about what you're going through with it. And I know I want to get you back to your family and everything else. But for all of your fans that are out there watching right now, is there anything you'd like to say to them through this broadcast?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, guys. It's not a perfect dream world to be racing for you guys on iRacing. But thank you for interacting. We're all going to pull through this together, and hopefully our sport is better from this. But mainly, I just thank you guys for the support that we've always had and hopefully this time we can just be fans of each other. No one's better than anyone in this time. We all need to help each other. And it's an honor to be able to entertain people during this time. And hopefully we'll all get back to normal life soon. And, this sickness will go away.
Ty, thank you so much for joining us. That was perfectly well spoken. Really appreciate it, and looking forward to following you and your wife on Instagram just to see what you're all coming up with. And thanks so much for being here on Digital Trends Live.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, great conversation right there. Ty Dillon from NASCAR talking about what they're going through, what their life is like right now, as we're all adapting and changing everything that we do. It's fascinating seeing that and seeing that inside, kind of behind the scenes for a lot of people, and seeing what their life is like. And him, going back to racing in this way after 10 years with all the confidence in the world on the track, but now having to relearn the iRacing style. It's really interesting stuff. Really appreciate Ty being here on the show. And I really appreciate everybody who's joining in. So we do broadcast live here for Digital Trends every single weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. We bring you trending tech headlines, news, interviews, just discussions as we're all going through what's happening right now. We are here for you, and we're here every single day. So I want you to hit subscribe on whatever platform you're watching on. That way you get notifications when we go live. You can join in the conversation. You can let us know what you think, share the show, talk about different segments if you want, and we really do appreciate that. Tomorrow on the show, we'll be live right back here from my house. We'll have John Velasco, our smart home editor, who's going to join the show, plus some more interviews, plus news, all the things that we usually give you, and I appreciate you following along. Of course, you can follow at digitaltrends.com for all the latest news, and we've got a ton of guides for working from home as well on there, so definitely check those out. And thanks to everybody joining us. I'm Greg Nibbler for Digital Trends. I'll be right back here at my house tomorrow.